And we're back. I think at movie theaters, when you go to a symphony concert, I mean, it's almost 95% old music. Modern music really doesn't have a stronghold, which is unfortunate. I don't agree with that.
For sure.
But then again, there's so many modern composers that are writing shit that I can't really say I blame them.
Also true. And so much of the past stuff that is in the repertoire is incredible.
Absolutely. So, but I'd love, I think movie theaters should put a lot more emphasis on playing classics. And, I'd love to go see a Bergman in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
But where are you going to do that at? Like,
that's a good point. Like, every theater should have, if not on like a daily basis, like at least a weekly basis, where you can go and see an older movie, like a classic artistic, a Bergman or a Fellini or a Woody Allen or something that you would not normally see in a theater, and maybe get in for cheap and have that experience. I'm
sure a lot of people would be interested in something like that.
There are places like that exist, but it's not at your normal everyday, around the corner movie theater. You have to go to a weird little specialty theater in the city, or something, which doesn't have the modern amenities of a nice new theater. It's a different thing.
I want my butter flavored popcorn. God damn it!
Yeah, I would like to sit in a modern theater with the stadium seating, the comfortable chairs, and have
people bringing me beers.
Have a huge tub of popcorn and see a Fellini movie. Like, that would be amazing.
Why don't they use real butter on the popcorn?
It's butter flavoring.
I mean, yeah, butter.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
That's a great idea, though, and I will say that there are theaters now, Warenberg, or I don't know, one of the big systems of theaters, who do things like on weekends sometimes they will broadcast operas live from the Met, which I think is an awesome idea. Buy tickets, go into a theater, and watch a Met presentation of an opera. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely, and I mean, even within the movie realm itself, there's people that are making, film right now that, are not big Hollywood blockbusters. And I mean,
for sure,
can't we give them a little real estate? Like, I'm sure there's good films being released right now,
Yeah.
And then European films, that opens up a whole nother world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we're just like, no, we're gonna push these like big 5 summer blockbusters, and that's fine. I mean, do that. But can we have like some variety, like
a little balance here?
Yeah, can you give like the classics, 15% of the market, and then give modern films 10%, and then you guys, okay, you have 75%. Like, people can go see the new version of, I don't even know what plays anymore. Whatever's out.
Sure.
I'm sure that will be more than adequate.
Well, it's, now if you go to the movies and there is a new Transformer movie out, say, you can go see it. They have it probably on 3 screens. Every half an hour it starts throughout the day. You could see it 15 times in the same theater if you wanted to.
Yeah, anywhere from 6:30 a.m. to midnight. No.
You could see it on one of the screens in that theater. It's like, take one of those slots and put a good movie on.
Yeah.
Put an older movie on in one of those time slots. You could still see it 20 times in a day, the Transformers, that is, and if you want to, and it gives the people that want to have a great experience a chance to do that with a real movie.
Well, I mean, it's the consumer drives this stuff, right?
That's true.
If we as a culture demanded more than we're getting, then they would do that. It's like I kind of was thinking about this. I was on the road recently, and your options for eating are McDonald's or whatever,
Sure.
And So I stopped in at this McDonald's and, grabbed a burger and some fries and whatever.
Yeah.
I knew what to expect.
Right.
Something I read kind of disturbed me. And, we all know that eating McDonald's isn't good for you. Everybody knows that.
Sure.
But this was like very confrontational in a way that I hadn't really experienced before. There was a warning sign on the wall, like right near where you order. There's like a warning sign that says, we use certain chemicals in, preparation of our meat that is known to cause, cancer and birth defects.
That said that on the wall at McDonald's?
On the wall in the McDonald's, yeah.
Really?
And it's like, for example, in our hamburger, we use blah, 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 some chemical name I don't remember.
Right.
And then, they're citing an instance of this, and I thought, why would I ever eat this shit again?
That's like a warning label I see on like oil paint, This contains products known by the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects, and it's concerning, but at the same time I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat this paint or rub it all over my body. I'll probably be okay.
Sure. But I mean...
But to see that at a restaurant where you're getting ready to eat, that's insane.
Well, whoever controls the bottom dollar for that company decided they're fine with eating this shit. We're going to make more money. But I mean, how irresponsible.
Yeah, sure.
Irresponsible for one, them to even offer. Why are we offering things that we know are going to kill us?
Well, because
we can just make a good hamburger and eat that. That's totally fine. And I mean, I, as the customer, have a choice not to go there, which I won't be ever again, I'm proud to say.
Sure.
But the same thing, it kind of all wraps up, same thing with these movies. It's like, why can't there be a decent film on once in a while that I can go see? And why, is my only choice if I'm driving across the country and want to eat a hamburger, within I'm sure there's some local diner somewhere that I don't know about because it's not an area I'm familiar with,
Sure.
But why is my option to eat a burger that's going to kill me?
Right.
The quality standard is so low. I mean, fuck that.
Well, yeah, but we're at a point now, whether it's food or movies or music or whatever, anything we want to talk about, where there is so many options that we're getting in a good place, I think, because
it's true. There's more options now than there ever was, and hey, my phone can tell me how to get there, right?
That's true. 20 years ago, you might not have really had an option besides McDonald's because you can't look that up on your phone at that point and find, something better, whatever.
I mean, I kind of came to realize, I don't know what it was. I mean, I've eaten McDonald's since I was a kid, and I've been there probably more times than I should have been, but I don't eat fast food in my adult life with any level of frequency.
Sure.
Once a month.
Sure.
Twice a month, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But, something about reading that sign, it was just incredibly confrontational, and I thought, I am actively supporting this institution with my money.
Well, it's one thing to kind of have that in the back of your head, like this is probably terrible for me, It's an entirely different thing to like see it right in front of your face as you're about to eat.
Yeah, they're telling you point blank as you hand them the money. Hey, this shit's gonna kill you.
Pretty bad, man.
And we're a big fan of. I think we're both fairly healthy. We enjoy working out and we eat okay.
Yeah,
but neither one of us are big vegetable eaters, which is not a real great thing. But
true.
We discovered the Green Smoothie.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I've been a huge proponent to that. All my friends, I tell them that, and they all negate it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, sure.
But, dude, Green Smoothie. Take spinach. You can jam an entire huge salad into this thing.
You would jam the whole bag into it. I would put more like a handful, but
oh yeah, I get as much green stuff in there as I can.
Sure.
You get banana, some berries. You can go peanut butter milk. You can go water with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an incredible way to get your greens in, and you don't even taste it.
No, especially when you start putting other stuff in it. Like I used to put the, well, I still do. I would put the spinach in first, and then I would, on top of that, I would put, mixed frozen fruit and mixed berries, and by the time you blend it all up, you can't even taste the spinach.
Or you're like, oh, I'm drinking a berry smoothie. It just happens to have a giant, spinach salad in there as well.
Yeah,
it's
a delicious thing. Just don't look at it necessarily because the coloring might be less than desirable.
Yeah, you always said you drank yours with the lights off because it freaked you out or something.
It ranged between, depending on how much of the berries and the fruit and what kind of fruit happened to get into the thing, it ranged from like a disgusting green color, not like a pleasant green, like a gross green color, to a kind of grayish purple color that was equally unappealing.
You haven't... See, mine goes from like a green to a purple.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually have a different take on it because I see that like this thing is like green,
Right.
And I just think, oh man, all this just vitality entering my system,
When it comes to food, green is good. If it's green, it's probably going to be good for you.
Yeah, so I actually enjoy that color because I just think, God, not only does this taste delicious, it's got this bright green, vibrant color, purple overtones, and It's like, man, I'm going to live forever.
Something about the coloring is a little off-putting to me, but I get it.
Yeah, so I mean, but why can't, there should be along with Greco-Roman wrestling circles on every corner, I should be able to drive down the street and get a smoothie for like $3.
Sure.
And, the more we tamper with this stuff, the worse it gets. I don't know why we haven't learned this yet. Have we already forgotten margarine and butter? Like,
right.
Butter, turns out, is fine, and margarine will kill you. So it's almost like man meddling with nature fucks it up.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? Like, these things are designed a specific way for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I think on the whole, you do raise a good point. We have more options than we ever had. And,
for sure.
Where I live, food carts are really big. You can get a very, very respectable meal for like $5, $6, $7. And it's just, you walk up to this food cart on the street, there's like a whole, army of them, and sometimes they drive around and they're mobile, and sometimes, there's just blocked out places.
Sure.
But you can get some like gourmet meals going on for like $6, which is $5, which is not bad because these chefs got fed up with having the overhead of a restaurant.
Yeah.
So they just bought a little cart and they cook out of there. They'll be using seasonal ingredients, and they can change up the menu however they want. They don't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
They pay their little rent for the corner spot that they got, and then off they go. But
it's not a bad idea, man.
I don't know if they got that over where you're at, but
they're in spots. I mean, not like right here, but
some of it has to do with the density of the population.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like the idea of being able to eat lunch for $5 and still actually have something that's not a piece of crap.
Still have some good real food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
But I gotta say, I'm enjoying this intermittent fasting business.
Yeah?
Dude, it's so easy.
It's really easy. It's really not a big deal at all.
I'm on like a 16/8, so I eat my last meal usually somewhere around, last meal is probably around 8, but I cut off all calorie consumption at about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Sure.
And then I'm eating my first meal somewhere around 1:30 typically. Mm-hmm. So the timeline's not quite locked in yet. I'm still kind of hovering around the 15 hour, 15 and a half, something like that. But, I'm not super fanatical about it.
Sure.
And I can tighten it up as I go, but I love simplifying my life and not having to think about eating 3 square meals a day and getting healthier doing it.
I've been, I haven't been maybe so focused on it, and I didn't set out with intentions to do it, but I've been running for 3 weeks now, and since I've been running, I've basically been doing an intermittent fasting thing because I found out in the once or twice in those 3 weeks that I didn't do it, intermittent fasting, and I basically ate throughout the day, my runs were much worse. Like I vastly prefer running on an empty stomach. I feel way lighter. I just feel better in general, and I feel like the run goes better. So what I've been doing is not eating breakfast, sometimes eating something really small for lunch, more often not. And when I get home from work, I go immediately on my run, and then when I'm done with my run, dude, I'm cramming food in the evening, and it's great.
I actually have been kind of shocked, because I've stopped for a time. There's just too busy doing other stuff, sadly. So my kind of powerlifting routine has kind of come to a halt right now.
Sure.
Not to say that I don't have time to lift, but when you're doing these big compound exercises with big weights, like you're going to be tired, basically.
Yeah, sure.
And that's just a personal choice. So I've been doing some like kettlebell training and stuff, and I noticed I eat significantly less.
Sure.
Like I'm still working out, 20, 30 minutes swinging this kettlebell around, and I mean, that has all kinds of benefits, doing swings and kettlebell snatches, and it jacks your heart rate up big time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something my powerlifting routine didn't do. So my conditioning's improving, even if my strength is getting lower. But I noticed I don't eat as much, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I, had my first meal, around usually 1:30, something like that. Then I come home, I eat dinner, and then that's pretty much it. And I was kind of alarmed because I thought, I didn't eat enough. I'm going to be starving,
Right.
And then I just breeze through the night, through the day. I'm not tired at work, which I know people have said if they skip meals, they feel like their mental performance, and like articles I had read, it kind of warned you against like your mental performance could drop, or your mood or whatever. Right. I found the exact opposite myself. Sure. But I've kind of, I don't know that this is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but I haven't eaten breakfast for 10 years, so it's really not that different than what I normally did.
Sure.
I got kind of accustomed to it because I'd wake up and eat bulgogi, which is the most delicious Korean beef dish first thing in the morning. So I had to give that up, sadly. But, yeah, it's a breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, man. I went from not eating any carbs during the week and, working out lightly as far as yoga or a little bit of weight stuff or a walk or whatever several times a week, and not being really happy with how I looked or felt, to in the past 3 weeks I've been running every day and eating carbs of some form every day, and not eating breakfast, which I was always eating breakfast before.
Yeah.
I feel 100 times better in the last 3 weeks than I did in the past, years.
Interesting.
You
what prompted the run?
I
just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to go for a run."
One day I was feeling, and I hadn't really been truly happy with, my physique or how I felt for a little while. And one day I did something at work. I don't know what it was. I ran for just a second to answer a phone, or I don't know, something, stupid like that, because I wasn't right next to it when it started ringing or whatever the case was. And I got really winded, and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm in terrible shape. And I wasn't it's not like I weighed 400 pounds or anything, but
I got to say, I mean, that feeling is not fun.
It's terrible.
in the winter, I was eating as much as I could and lifting as much as I could. And I was getting much stronger than I had ever been, and that was awesome. But, I'd walk up 3 flights of stairs to go to work, and I'd get winded. I'm like, damn it.
I know, it's a bad feeling, and it makes you feel like the work you're doing is kind of not for nothing, but you still don't feel like you're in great shape if you get winded really easily.
Yeah, it's not fun.
So after that happened, I was like, okay, that's it. I got to get my cardio up, and I don't want to ride on a stationary bike at a gym or anything like that. I'm just gonna go run. And the first couple times I did it, I kind of felt like I was gonna die because I hadn't run in some number of years, and certainly not like I was on a track in 100-degree heat. But when I was done with it, I felt great, and I've continued to feel great, so I'm just going to keep doing it.
Did you find you had mentioned kind of some shin splint type symptoms? Do those kind of dissipate?
Yeah, the first week, my shins, with the front of my legs were just hurting pretty bad, and it was kind of like...
Well, it's not like you really tempered your activity either, because you went from not running at all to running every single day.
That's true. Doing 6 laps up at the track every day.
So a mile and a half, going from 0 to a mile and a half every day. So what is that? 10 miles, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, in the big scheme of things, it's a significant shift in lifestyle.
Yeah.
And some amount of pain, I suppose, is to be expected. But also, I just went into it without reading about it or any knowledge, and for the first week I was getting some pretty sharp shin splints. It was starting to hurt, and it was getting to the point where I was concerned that I was going to have to stop for some amount of time. And I'm like, I'm just getting this momentum going. I don't want to have to not run for a week to heal my shins up.
We've both experienced that too, where you're running, you feel great, because that happened to me after about 10 days. With my last running, I do periodically every couple of years. I decide I'm going to run, and then I decide, I hate running. Why am I doing this?
Right.
But, I run for 10 days, and I'm like, I'm going to take a day off. 3 years later.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. That's easy to do, for sure.
So you just decided you were bypassing that.
I just decided I don't want to get to that point because I know what's going to happen. Like, if I have to stop for a couple days to heal my shins, I know I'm not going to do it again, so...
Well, you might, but there's a chance that you wouldn't.
There's a good chance that I would not, based on past experiences. So I'm like, I don't want to stop. So I wrote Schrock and told him what I had been doing and what was going on. And, Schrock has been doing marathons lately. The guy runs like a maniac. He's awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, he's a pretty good person to ask.
I mean, who better to advise me? Because, he was just a normal dude that started running. It's not like he's been an Olympic caliber runner all his life or anything,
As far as I know, too, I mean, I can't say for certain, but I think he's probably running somewhere between, 60 to 100 miles a week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I constantly see pictures on Instagram from him and stuff. It's like 9 miles today, 10 miles today. I'm like, damn, man.
He's doing it like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, early, for sure. The guy's a savage, but... I was like, Schrock, what's going on? Because I got this shin splint thing, and he tells me that it's most likely from bad technique and from landing more on your heel and putting the weight more on your heel as opposed to the ball of your foot, which seems kind of unnatural at first. But I took his advice and have been kind of shifting my weight forward a little bit and almost leaning in to the run and trying to focus on landing on the ball of my feet more, and it's basically fixed my shin splint problems. Like, my runs are a lot better now. I
think maybe about a year ago, you run on a track. Why do you do that?
Mainly because it's so close to me. It's about what is it? From my house, you know where it's at. It's probably like a half a mile walk, maybe.
So why not just run on the sidewalk that's 100 feet from your house?
Well, the walk, is a good warm-up to the run. If I do this half-mile walk and get everything moving and going, it's a good warm-up, and it's a good cool-down also after the run. And if I go up to the track, it's flat. I don't have to really think about big cracks in the sidewalk and that sort of thing. People walking their dogs. Like, I don't have to think about anything. There's no obstacles. It's flat. The distance is marked off for me already. And there's nobody else up there typically. So like I kind of have run to it myself. I'm kind of like in my own private little workout world, which is I definitely
always preferable.
Always preferable. So I for the time being, it's working. Once school starts and sports starts, if there's activities up there when I go to run, I'll have to figure something else out. But for the time being,
get out of here, you fucking kids!
Get out of here! This is my track. I've been running here for 3 weeks. So I'll figure something else out at that point. But it's working good for now.
That's hilarious.
There was one old guy up there one time. He was just kind of walking around the outside when I got up there, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, "You son of a bitch."
Well, when I was in town over there, we went over to this playground because, unlike the rest of the adults in the world, we're not a bunch of billies, and or I don't know, maybe you guys aren't billies, but like playing on playgrounds is fun.
Dude, it's awesome, yeah.
And I mean, it's actually a really great workout too. Go to your local playground and just attempt to crawl around on those monkey bars and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Your grip strength is going to go up. If you're the average American male, somewhere between your 20s to 30s or 40s, you're gonna have a tough time. You'll get sore,
I guarantee it, if you're there for any amount of time.
So we were up there playing around, and I think this was at night, but we were cutting through that track you run on, and I guess there was somebody up there in the dead of night. There's no lights up there, and this guy was walking around the track, and he saw us come up over the top of this hill.
Oh, dude, I remember that.
It got timed real weird that we were kind of coming up right as he was walking around, and I said good evening to him, and we were just a few feet behind him, and then he just like bolted.
He got real suspicious real fast.
He just bolted as fast as he could. He was zigzagging back and forth and seeing if we were following him, and he just fled the scene. I mean, I suppose it was a prudent thing to do.
Sure.
Because he was wondering what the hell we were doing out there, but
it was on his part, for not knowing us, it was probably smart.
Yeah, but
I forgot about that. That was funny.
Yeah, that was a good time. But that's the only time I've ever seen anybody up there other than apparently this old man that's your arch nemesis that was walking on your track.
At the end, he stayed on the outside. I was on the inside. He stayed on my way, and he was out walking, and it was like 100 degrees. And I'm like, hey, at the end of it, I was like, good for you, man,
Yeah.
I mean, you're out there getting exercise. Most people, your age, I don't know how old he was. He seemed pretty old. I'm like, most people your age are, I'm sure, doing nothing and feeling terrible because of it,
Well, a friend of mine that's in quite good condition, more so than me, cardiovascular-wise, which has never been my forte, but we're out mountain biking in the mountains, and which is a hell of a workout, but
sure.
We got passed by this guy that was about 60 that, presumably lives out there. But he just blasted by us like we were tied to a post. Like we got whipped.
Sure.
And it was impressive. So, I mean, age is not necessarily the factor here.
No, wait. Like a couple of years ago, I went, my parents were camping at Carlisle Lake. My dad bikes around all the time, does a lot of biking. And, that morning I went for a bike ride with him. I took my mom's bike or something, and he had his, and dude, he was having a much easier time than I was. That's for sure.
Yeah.
At the time I'm 30 years old, he's 60 something, and he's having no problems, and I'm like, I'm wearing myself out. Yeah,
that's it's always nice to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely advocate. I don't know why it matters to me, but it does. I want to see other people fit also.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it just makes everything better.
I get upset, and I shouldn't. It has nothing to do with me, but I get kind of upset when I see a 600-pound person using a mobilized cart in a store just because I know they can't walk, And
well, once you've gotten to that point, it's, I would suspect staying on your feet and staying mobile, no matter what, you can always walk.
Sure.
Walking is totally respectable. And I mean, for people who are in terrible shape, who haven't done shit for 15 years.
Yeah.
And don't go out and run.
No, don't try and
just don't
run.
do it. Every summer I see the same pathetic display, and I'm not saying the people are pathetic, but society shames them into thinking they got to run. If your body isn't prepared to do that, you're going to blow a knee out.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah,
you don't need to run.
I applaud them for wanting to take some kind of action. That's a good sign, but
they're going to be in significant pain after about a day.
Yeah,
and then they're going to stop.
You have to be realistic about it. Just go on walks for a while. I lost a lot of weight when I first moved in here. I wasn't doing anything different except eating slightly less and going on a 2-mile walk every day. It took like a half an hour.
Yeah, you said you dropped 40 pounds, something like that.
I dropped about 40 pounds in a short period of time when I first moved in here, and I wasn't really doing much different except for after work I was absolutely committed to going on this 2-mile walk every day. Like I said, it took about a half an hour. It was no big deal, and that significantly improved my life.
Sure. Yeah,
most people, I just don't. They're not realistic about stuff.
It's a very understandable problem. But,
well, sure.
Well, they remember. I think people have decided by the time they're, somewhere in their 20s, whether or not they're going to be fit people or not.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
And then,
for the most
usually
part,
somewhere around January 1st, people decide they're going to get fit. They buy a gym membership, and then they go for 2 weeks and then fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of starting things on Monday. Didn't we say that's a terrible idea?
Yeah, we discussed how that was an awful idea and you should never start anything on a Monday.
New Year's, who cares? Right. I actually love New Year's resolutions, but the thing is, if I fail come January 15th, which I think they've kind of determined is most people give up by then, then I don't, I'll reinstigate my intentions on January 16th.
Sure.
It's not oh, well, the last 2 weeks didn't go as I wanted, so this year's, fucked.
Right. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah, well, could have been.
2018 will be good. I'll make it good.
Yeah. But for the rest of this year, I'm just going to eat Twinkies and sit here on my couch.
Rather than
Transformers 25.
Rather than New Year's resolutions, I'm more of a fan of looking back on the previous year and seeing how much that I've done. That to me is a cooler feeling than looking ahead and getting excited about the new year because you never know what's going to happen and how that's going to go. But if you can stay disciplined throughout the year and then look back at the end of the year or at the start of the new year and say, man, last year was great for me. Every New Year's I don't go on Facebook anymore, but I used to see posts about how the past year was terrible and how this year was going to be somebody's year and it's going to be much better. And I look back at my past year and I'm like, man, I got a lot of shit done. I had a great year. I don't know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, you're saying the New Year's retrospective is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Honestly, I would say I'm a fan of both.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with setting goals, obviously. That's a good thing, but, Well,
the retrospective is far more informative.
Yeah, for sure.
Some things worked, probably. Some things probably didn't. And from what I understand, and I don't know where I'm pulling this information from, but apparently I think it's pretty common that people, it's hard to achieve a goal that you never set to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's actually probably the most common occurrence.
I would probably agree with that. For anything we're talking about,
Sure.
If you don't have a goal in mind, how are you going to get anywhere?
I mean, there's nothing special about January 1st. You can set a goal at any time.
And you can set a goal for anything you want to do.
Me. I want to make sure that I eat at least one plate of General Tso's chicken every week.
Sure.
That's something that I feel strongly about, and it's critical.
Hey, they say one of the keys, and I fully believe this now after committing and having a over year long, Viking beard going. They say one of the main things as far as if you want to grow a beard is to have a beard idol, have some sort of plan on how you want it to look.
Well, you're talking about visualization, which is something that every, people on the top do frequently.
Have a goal in mind, visualize yourself getting there and how it's going to be when you get there, and work towards it.
Yeah, I mean, that's who was your beard idol, just out of curiosity?
I don't know that I had a specific one, but man, when you see, like, I had an idea, like when you see those old pictures of Monet painting his water lilies, and he had that big, glorious gray and white beard, and you're like, look at that badass, man.
Yeah,
you're like,
he was cool.
How badass is this dude outside with this huge beard painting water lilies and flowers? I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was cool.
That is a picture of masculinity, and he's outside painting flowers, but, it's weird to think about that in today's day and age, but what a badass thing.
We've kind of talked about that before, that something about facial hair, we both feel pretty strongly about this, that I find people with facial hair typically to be more trustworthy almost immediately.
For sure.
I find them to be more reliable, more upfront in their intentions. Doesn't necessarily mean that, I guess science would say that they come off more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't recall any of the studies regarding that, but I know they've been done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't know. What's your take on it?
I definitely find people, and not people with, like, people with established facial hair, especially like a full beard, I definitely find those people in general to be, of a stronger character, I would say. Probably in some ways more patient and understanding. And I don't know. There's something about the kind of person that would do that. It tells you something about their character, I think.
Yeah, I mean, usually somebody with a very long beard, I consider them to be very sturdy and kind of extremely patient, because if they weren't, they wouldn't have that beard.
Yeah, there's no way it would get to anywhere near that. I mean, because that's all wrapped up with personality, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're an impulsive, unsturdy individual, it's unlikely that you're going to have a big established beard. They just don't go hand in hand.
Well, another thing, I mean, I believe since about World War II, beards have kind of fallen out of favor.
Mm.
And
well, the hipsters kind of have brought them back.
And before that, in like the 70s,
sure,
facial hair was more popular, but
sure.
And that's fine, but I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But in general, I think it's people who have, facial hair probably less conformist, and that makes me more comfortable because I feel like they're more genuine in their intentions.
For sure.
And doesn't mean we're necessarily always going to see eye to eye on things, but I don't feel like they're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, so to speak.
I completely agree.
Which, the modern world is it's all about people bullshitting each other.
Yeah,
that's what office society is all about. Is that what that show's about? No.
It's about interactions in an office, for sure.
Oh.
For sure.
Yeah, I get to experience that every day. Why would I want to watch a show about it?
You actually should. You would probably find it pretty amusing.
Huh.
For seasons 2, 3, and 4, it's essentially, for what it is, it's essentially perfect television.
Well, I don't know about all that, but what I do know is generally, I guess at one time, beards were, probably right now, if you talk to men in today's day and age, they'll say, oh, yeah, I don't have a beard or I don't have facial hair because I can't grow it.
Right.
Which is, okay, well, that just means you're incredibly impatient.
That's exactly what it means. You're too impatient to give it a chance.
And you're too concerned with other people's opinion of you because you don't want to deal with it getting to the proper stage.
Absolutely, because there is a time for everybody where it doesn't look that good and it doesn't feel all that good.
Exactly.
That's part of it, and getting through that shows something about you.
Additionally, people say, oh, my women don't like it.
Right. My girlfriend
wife
doesn't
like it. My girlfriend doesn't like it.
For sure.
I have heard that argument before and
Many times.
got fooled by it myself.
Uh-huh.
You know what I've discovered? It's not actually true.
Of course it's not true.
I've heard that as many times as probably anyone, and don't get fooled.
What kind of heterosexual woman would want their man looking less manly? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Also, if you let it get to your... I personally believe if you let the beard get to the proper stage where it's filled in and it looks good, I think almost... I can't think of an example where somebody actually looks better without it.
I've seen a few instances.
I'm sure they exist, but, on the whole, I would say people just look cooler with it. They look more manly. They look more, more serious and respectable, and I think it's a good look.
Absolutely. And, you raise a great question, which is what woman wouldn't want their man looking more manly? I mean, for the male listening audience, reverse that.
Yeah.
Why, if your female companion wanted to look more feminine, you wouldn't have a problem with that.
No.
You'd be completely comfortable with that.
Of course.
So, I mean, bring it back to our side of the spectrum again and, just consider that fact. And, I don't know, because we've all heard that argument, like, all men want to be considered attractive to opposite members of the sex, but
sure.
And I've heard that, I don't like beards, da-da-da-da-da. I don't know why women are inclined to say that, because it's not actually true.
No. That's why I've always said, especially if you're a single man, grow a beard immediately. And that way,
do yourself a favor.
At some point you're going to meet a woman, and when that happens, you'll have this nice beard, and then from then on, you will have, beard immunity. You could grow a beard whenever you want for the rest of your life, because your female companion here will remember you with a beard, because that is how she met you. That is, when she fell for you or whatever the case is. So then you could always go back to that.
Yeah, I mean...
Plus, the kind of woman that you will attract when you have a nice full beard, I would be willing to bet is probably more desirable than if, you're wearing plaid shorts and a pink shirt and you're clean shaven and you meet a woman. They're going to be different kinds of women. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely.
And I would definitely say one is preferable to the other.
Yeah, if they're insisting that you, wax your eyebrows and things of that nature, you might want to consider reevaluating your position.
You might want to grow a beard and see what else is out there. Do everyone a favor.
Should probably chop down a tree, too.
It wouldn't hurt. Let out a barbaric yelp, chop down a tree, grow a beard, get a nice flannel shirt.
That's an interesting thing that, I think they call it the urban beardsman. Mm-hmm. I think is its official title. I mean, there are people that buy the leather boots, the flannel shirt, have the beard, and I mean, that's all badass, but have never actually lifted a single finger in the ways of manual labor in their life.
Sure.
That's less cool.
It's less cool for sure. But I don't think it happens all that often. Luckily. I mean, I think once you get to the point where you're establishing yourself as that kind of person, if you want to call it that, growing the full beard and doing the whole thing, you're going to get into the other aspects of, being a man.
But I'm just saying, don't be a poser.
Don't be a poser. There are people like that out there that are doing it for fashion purposes, no doubt.
Not saying you got to be a lumberjack, but you probably shouldn't be a complete sissy either.
Don't be a total puss.
But although I don't understand, and I live in the heart of this kind of thing, I don't understand the hipster mustache crowd. Is that still a thing?
Less so than it was, say 5 years ago. But yeah, it's still out there.
5 years, huh?
Well, I don't know when the peak of the whole hipster thing kind of happened, but
okay.
I think that's for the most part is peaked and is on the decline. They've moved on to other things as far as I know, but it still exists.
Okay. And why was that different? It was like, because my father had a mustache growing up. I've always associated that with his masculine figures, and I'm totally comfortable with it. The rest of modern society seems to have some kind of problem with it. I'm not entirely certain why that is, but
well, the hipster thing was different because they were coming to it from a point of irony, which was ironic in and of itself because a lot of them grew really badass mustaches that were cool. And if they had just grown a mustache to grow a mustache and to be manly, awesome. But a lot of them were doing it, and at the same time were wearing their girlfriend's pants and listening to pop punk music and doing other ridiculous things, and they were growing a mustache to be ironic because obviously they weren't all that manly and that sort of thing. And the whole thing was it was a bizarre, weird mess.
Isn't it possible, though, that was just like a veneer, that they actually wanted to grow a mustache and be manly, but they kind of felt like they couldn't because society shamed them into hiding their masculinity?
So they had to act like it was ironic? Oh, shit.
Yeah, so they had to act like it was ironic? Isn't that possible?
There's some deep layers to this I didn't even realize. That's entirely possible.
There's a reason I advocate setting up Greco-Roman wrestling rings on every corner in this country, because masculine energy is kind of terrifying, and it does have the capacity to be destructive if not given a proper outlet. And, go do a barbaric Yelp and you will find out for yourself that it is terrifying.
Absolutely true.
And in modern society, it doesn't have a really strong outlet.
That's true.
We're not grabbing spears and running headfirst into another army holding spears,
right.
And fighting to the death. Some people are doing that.
Sure.
But generally speaking, the populace as a whole is not.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Screw them.
I think the important thing to realize here is that Monet's a badass.
Monet is a badass, and he had an awesome beard, and that's what we really need to know.
That's what we really need to know. So do yourself a favor and look up some of his paintings, and let him be the inspirational figure to press onto your masculinity.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note,
this podcast is over.